I feel it's safe to say that most of us love being in our own homes. I know for myself personally, I choose to stay home unless absolutely necessary or if there's somewhere that I really want to go. What if I told you that if you took your treatment home with you instead of going to a clinic, you may have better results than the majority of the patients that end up having to go in center? Studies have shown that the patients that are able to take their treatments home have a better quality of life, which is an important predictor that they use to be able to determine rates of depression symptoms, hospitalization rates, and mortality rates. Standard in-center treatment typically is very taxing on the organs. Usually it's something that can be mitigated with longer treatments, but the problem is usually with an in-center, you only have a certain amount of time to work with. Each patient runs 3 days a week, usually 3 to 4 hours, and they have about 3 to 3.5 liters that's removed from them per treatment. Now that 3 to 3.5 liters is very taxing on the organs when that's being pulled off. We would love to do longer treatments, but the problem is usually staffing issues, and we have a lot of patients that need to rotate in and out. Usually we'll run 3 shifts a day, 6 days a week, and that will usually run from about 5 o'clock in the morning until about 9 to 10 o'clock at night. So we don't really have much time to be able to fill anybody in. Usually we'll have patients miss treatments and we'll have to call them back in. And that can be even worse for them because they're taking on even more fluid. So when you have that exchange of fluid, constantly taking in more fluids and then having to have large amounts of it pulled off in one sitting, it can really hurt the organs. So that's why in-center is more of a bandage, a placeholder until somebody can get a transplant or possibly go home. Now the benefit with home therapy treatments is you're able to have a gentler experience. You're able to do dialysis for a longer period of time, whether it's peritoneal, which is a catheter is inserted into the abdominal cavity and a prescribed fluid is given to them to be able to pump into that cavity for it to sit in that abdominal cavity for about 8 to 10 hours and allow the process of osmosis to be able to remove any excess fluids, remove any either give or remove nutrients that are needed, and also remove urea and any other contaminants. Then that fluid is exchanged back out. The other option is home hemodialysis, where they would have a fistula or a graft. A fistula is where they take a major artery and a major vein and they remove the connections and they connect them together. Usually that takes a little bit of time for that to mature and be able to be used. But once that's stable to be used, that's one of the more efficient ways to be able to have hemodialysis performed. So to be able to do that, you're able to do 5, 6 hour treatments sitting in the comfort of your own home and actually being able to just be in your own environment. Being able to do that means that you're able to pull all those fluids off, but over a longer period of time. So you're not damaging the organs by pulling too much off at too high of a frequency. Also, you're able to get more often treatments. So you, instead of having to be able to do it 3 days a week because that's what they can fit you in, you're able to now do it 5, 6 days a week, maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, just enough to pull the fluids off. So home therapies is more of a replacement for an actual kidney, for kidney function rather than in-center. In-center is a bandage and a way to be able to manage a quality of life. Home therapies is the way to be able to get that quality of life back on par with where it should be. Not only is it taxing on organs to be able to have to go into these in-centers to be treated, it's taxing on our wallets. Even if you don't go to dialysis, it is coming out of our wallets in our taxes. So majority of patients that go into dialysis treatment are on Medicare, Medicaid, which comes out of taxpayer money. So in-center treatments are typically around 20% more expensive than home therapy treatments. So now being able to switch the majority of patients over, that would be able to save a lot of money for everybody, not just for things like the staffing costs and operational costs for the facility, but also for the process of having that fistula or graft implanted on a person or crafted on a person, as well as the travel too. Majority of the transport that's happening for these patients is coming from facilities to be able to transport over, and that is coming out of Medicare, Medicaid. So knowing what I know alongside with the research that I've done here, it's important for me to educate anyone that I can on the benefits of treatment at homes so that they can enjoy their lives to the fullest extent. The biggest issue that I saw in the clinics when I was still working there was that the lack of education was the biggest problem. Majority of the patients didn't either know about home therapies or didn't get enough information to be able to understand fully the implications of being able to take their treatment home. So I hope with this information now you'll be able to choose the best option for you or your family members or anyone that you know that may need this treatment. Cited sources are Michelle C. Lewicki's Debate: Should dialysis at home be mandatory for all suitable end-stage renal disease patients? Home dialysis-based therapies are second choice after transplantation in the seminars for dialysis, as well as Linda S. Wright's and Linda Wilson's Quality of Life and Self-Efficacy in 3 dialysis modalities: in-center hemodialysis, home hemodialysis, and home peritoneal dialysis in the Nephrology Nursing Journal, Journal of the American Nephrology Nurses Association.